Hi, and welcome to the SEO podcast, Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. My name is Chris Burris, one of the owners here at EWR Digital.
And my name is Matt Bertram. I'm one of the other owners here at EWR Digital. That was a tongue twister.
That is a tongue twister. Welcome back to another fun-filled edition of our podcast. Matt and I are broadcasting live from Houston, Texas. And Matt and I, we are your results rebels. I don't know what symbol I do.
Chris, what did you do there?
I don't
know. That's bad. That's bad.
Is that bad? I don't know.
You're not back. No.
Peace. All right. Yeah, we're excited. Actually, I'm going to jump. We got a review. This is my favorite SEO podcast. This was posted on our Facebook page. So, if you enjoy this podcast, we'd ask that you'd go to our Facebook page and post a review. You can get there by going to facebook.com/best SEO podcast. And this is from GH_14. The title is My Favorite SEO Podcast. You guys rock. Thank you very much for all the info. There are 4 exclamation marks in the body of his review. I think that makes up for the brevity of the review. I don't know. You think that's 4? Yeah?
Yeah, I would say actually I love it, by the way. I love the review. I would say that we need to let everybody know how special this podcast is.
Oh, yes. This particular podcast has a very important landmark. Not landmark, no.
Yeah, why not?
Landmark? Well, it's a landmark podcast. Benchmark, right?
Benchmark.
This is podcast number 500. 500. 2 zeros behind it. It may be true in terms of span. It's probably, I haven't even kind of surveyed that. We always say best SEO podcast that you can find. Yes. One of the top internet marketing podcasts that you can find. Yes. But we may be like the longest running internet marketing podcast. Like, I don't know if there's another podcast that's out there that's been running longer than ours. I don't know.
So there's marketing podcasts, there's digital marketing, like there's SEO, there's all these different categories of podcasts. There's small business podcasts. And so, I think that where did you say we best fit? Digital marketing, right? That's the category.
Oh, no, we're in the categories that I was looking at, it was, where did that go? Chartable back. It's a really good tool in marketing, in the marketing class.
So there's all these different categories within marketing, right? So marketing is really the bigger bucket of like what we fit into, and then there's a couple specialties down, and we looked it up because it's number 500. What for all the marketing podcasts of all time, of all time.
There's a category. So we're looking at chartable.com. There's a category, Apple Podcasts, United States, marketing all time. In fact, let me look at that. We're number 30. 30. And actually it's gone as high as 27 over the last.
So now we have a goal, Chris. Now we have a goal. Break the top 20. All right.
Top 20. All right.
We're like new guy I hired. Like everything, we're going to grow this thing, and we're going to reach the top 20. Now we have a target and a goal. All right, we got to get into this. I feel like people keep hitting fast forward and going like, when are you going to give me some
well, I think, they can appreciate 500. We're celebrating it. So it's been celebrated. We can jump right now into the actual podcast. Let's do that into the content. So we're actually covering an article by Loren Baker. We've had
founder of Search Engine Journal, by the way.
We've had him on our show before. That was actually a great one. It's how to target multiple cities without hurting your SEO, right? So you're a business, you've got multiple cities, maybe in one state or multiple cities across the country or internationally or whatever it may be. How do you target those multiple cities without hurting your SEO? So that's the article we're talking about. Done right, city pages can be an integral part of your local SEO strategy. Here's how to target and optimize them for local search. You've seen that keywords targeting a specific city. So like you've seen plumbers in Austin or flower shops in Newark. And if you rank for a keyword that targets multiple cities, will that help your SEO? So we're going to explore in this article, we're going to explore that they can actually hurt you and learn how to make sure that they don't hurt you. Does that sound good?
That sounds really interesting. I think there's a lot of people out there that have those questions as they're either working with clients that are growing, or you're a customer yourself, or sorry, you're a local business yourself, and you're expanding to multiple cities. How do you best do that, right? I think that's been a question on a lot of people's minds. So
yeah. If local SEO, so why is local SEO important? And if it can potentially hurt you, why would you do it? Like, why would you mess with it? So just know local SEO attracts foot traffic. More than 50% of local searches result in an actual store visit, and nearly 46% of Google searches have local intent, right? So you take all the massive amount of searches that happen on a daily basis from Google, they're saying 46% of those actually have local intent, and 50% of those actually turn into traffic immediately, or in a short order. So don't skip local, like the messages. Don't skip.
It's really the elephant in the room that like people don't focus on local enough, and local's so powerful just in itself. And what a lot of people don't actually know, right? And when we talk about local, we're talking about GMV, we're talking about the maps. I think there's a Bright Local study out there, talks about, it's about 30% of all traffic, right? So really important. Also, what a lot of people don't know is it's actually a separate search engine, Chris. Like, really, just like YouTube shows up in a Google search, YouTube is not part of Google. It is part of Google actually, but it's actually a whole different platform that Google pulls in that data or aggregates that data in. That's the same thing with the maps. So it's actually its own standalone platform. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And some of the ranking factors, have like a different calibration than the overall algorithm.
So local SEO ranks you higher on Google. If we're all well informed, so we know there's a couple things that we need to keep track of as SEOers. One of them is the clicks to your site, and another one is the keyword ranking increase. With local SEO, you can hit those two birds with the same stone, right? So city pages, good or bad for SEO? Like, here's the question.
Good.
In the old days, in the dark days of SEO, you would make a page, right, for the city, let's say Houston, and then you would duplicate that page and swap out Houston for Dallas, and now you had duplicate pages. Google figured this out pretty quick. I can tell you, it was probably a week at one point where I was duplicating a page. I actually had the system automated, and I took every city in the country that had 10,000 or more residents, and I actually had the system so it could build itself. So all the pages would build out themselves, and literally all it did was change out the name of the city, and that was it. That actually drove a lot of traffic to that website for a very long time.
And I would say, like Google is like advanced pattern recognition, right? As they're kind of building this sentient like AI, right? But it's really advanced like pattern recognition. And so what you were doing, Chris, now it can recognize those patterns pretty easily. Yeah.
And really, you could say that was the Panda smackdown. The Panda update made sure to flag and penalize sites that were doing that. So yes, city pages can hurt your SEO, but not if you do them right? So the most important thing Loren is saying, is make your most important city pages unique. If you want to list out all the cities in a region, you can just list them on a page. That's maybe not a bad strategy, and depending on how competitive, it can probably make you rank for the non-competitive cities that are in that list, and maybe it doesn't do much for you for the competitive cities in that list. You don't necessarily need an individual page for each city. But in terms of making the pages different, write original content for each area of the city and make sure you're doing it for those most valuable cities for you. So if it's a valuable city, like, you're probably not going to rank well for almost anything in Houston if you've just got a page that lists your service and all the cities in the state of Texas, right? That's probably not going to work because Houston is too competitive as the fourth largest city. And so you want to avoid that dupe. You want to work really hard to avoid that dupe content. Well, this isn't even dupe content. This is like back to the little trick that I did. It's the dupe content that ultimately was the penalty. So you want to avoid that. In this case, it's unique content, but it just has the one city listed once. And so it's not really unique content per city. On things that are more valuable to you, take the time, make them unique content.
Yeah, Chris, you brought up two points that I want to like hit on. First is, we brought on a local chiropractor not too long ago, and
I miss him.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, he used to come in and give everybody free adjustments when we were working in the office, is what Chris is implying there.
That's what I missed. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the interesting things is she's been with us for about a year. I can't tell you how many chiropractors are probably paying for SEO in Houston. I got first position for a number of keywords. I got multiple times on the first page for other keywords that don't even have the word Houston in them. And, there was a strategy that I've implemented to massively increase domain authority, rather rapidly. I actually got this chiropractor's domain authority above a publicly traded company.
Wow.
So that was kind of the first step. And then the second step was implementing a lot of these things to target local. So like in his zip code, he's first position, you know what I mean? And that drove relevant leads to him. Now Houston chiropractor, you're hitting people all around, but when he's directly local and also that on-page activity that happens because it's relevant and people are taking actions, I launched him to the first spot. I'm really quite proud. That was kind of an experimental little campaign that I was testing out some stuff because Google keeps kind of turning the dial on stuff. It's definitely a moving target. One of the other things I would say too is there was in the cowboy days of SEO, there was definitely some things that people were doing that weren't necessarily black hat. But again, with that user experience in mind, it's super important. One of the other things that kind of came in to all this is doorway pages, right? Like Loren, we didn't really talk about doorway pages, which is very, very similar of targeting a specific keyword, right? And I think that if you do it right and you kind of break the pattern like we're talking about, it does work effectively. But guess what? If you're driving them to another page to convert, right? So if you're funneling everybody from all these different pages to a single conversion page, those would be considered doorway pages, right? And there's a Google penalty associated with that. So if you're developing a strategy like this, and it does work, okay, with unique content, of course, because Google doesn't want to index things that aren't really relevant. If 1,000 people hit on it, you're not saying anything new. You just got to put like a form capture or some kind of call to action on that page, and then boom, you're no longer a doorway page. So I think that's something really, really important that people need to consider when building out this strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about building out the strategy, it's like building out, okay, so what do I say if I'm going to do like plumber Houston, or I'm going to do like renovation Dallas? What is the content difference? So he gives a couple examples. Maybe if you're a plumber, you talk about the problems of hard water in your area. So that would be a local experience. Maybe if you're a florist, talk about what kind of plants can and cannot grow in that area. And in real estate, talk about the communities in that area. Because adding that information also kind of like, I like to do business with local people, right? So if I understand, if that page is talking about local things that's happening, then I feel good about doing business with them. I feel confident that they're in the area. Frankly, it's the age of the internet. They may not even be close. They may be somewhere else, but it does make you feel good about doing business with them. All right. So and now we're outlining 5 tips on optimizing for local search. So the first tip for optimizing for local search is use Google My Business. And I'm going to be honest, some of these are kind of like they feel like they should go without saying, and maybe they should, but they're probably worth saying because that's how important they are, right?
That chiropractor did not have a Google My Business.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't understand how people are operating today without a website, without a Google My Business. I mean, maybe it's all off of referrals, word of mouth, but what is Facebook? What is the internet? Like, it's just word of mouth, presenting itself in a different way.
And he had a website, right? Like he had, he didn't even have a website. Okay.
No.
Because I would ask you, like, if it's either do, and it should never be this, but if it's either do Google My Business or do a website, which one would you do?
Depends what type of business, but if you're in a local service business,
Yeah.
you would do Google My Business, GMB, and you could launch. That's why Google gives you that little site builder, right? Because they want everybody to have the ability to have a site. I think locally, maps are actually probably more important because you get those driving directions. You get the people going, hey, my location's right here. They're going to stop by. Like I think if you're looking for those quick conversions of people driving by or looking for something, absolutely. It just depends what type of business you're in, and you got to think about the customer journey and the target persona of like who is searching, and then how are they searching for it, and what's the steps that they go through, right? So like if you're trying to buy a big screen TV and you're a local TV shop, where are they at also in that customer journey? Because the question really depends on a number of different factors of kind of, Google talked about those micro moments, those decisions. So there's just a lot of consideration into your strategy of where you're trying to hit people. And again, more analytics you have. That's why I love online marketing, is because you can collect more data, not everything, attribution, like AdWords attribution. AdWords is working on it. There's a lot of different things that go into it, but you can at least see some data. You can see some persona types a little bit more to make better marketing decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So so that first tip, use Google My Business. What that really means is step 1, verify your business. You'll have a higher chance of ranking on the SERPs. Good news, Google My Business is free, and it's actually pretty easy to use. So make sure you take advantage of that.
Register by mail now. If you're registering by phone, there's some problems, and also it needs to be a real address. We had a client that was using a PO box, and we realized they were getting a PO box. And we said, hey, you need to change this. You're using a PO box, you could get dinged by Google. And then guess what? Like, we started doing SEO, and I was like, look, we were telling them every week, you need to change this big red flag. You need to change this. I guess we were getting some more visibility in Google, or like it was just a timing thing. I don't know what happened. Boom, he got done, and then we had to go through the process of
moving the business.
Yeah. So people say these things, and people don't get scared of penalties sometimes. Look, I'm telling you that their manual penalties are still happening. There are certain rules you need to follow. The decision-making process gets more complex. Sometimes with these algorithms, they dampen things. But man, if you get dinged like that, you're not going to show up anywhere. It's like a weight getting attached to your website in the search results, and then it just gets dragged down to page 5, page 6 if you were on page 1, and you got to do some things to prove yourself to get out of it. Like, even now, like, one of the big things is there's a lot of things you used to be able to do with SEO to get something ranking really quickly, and Google puts you in a sandbox. I mean, I know they say they don't do that, but they do that.
Yeah.
And am I still there? Okay, my computer was going out on me. But yeah, they want to see consistency over the long haul for you to prove to them that this is and they look for a server. They want to make sure you're on a commercialized server. There's a lot of different things, but they're looking at all these things to decide, is this a trustworthy source? And is this somebody that I should place here? And these are all big considerations. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 2 is get into the Google local map pack.
Yeah, that's the like, what is it? The
Holy Grail.
Stone? No, not Rosetta Stone. Like
the
that's
Holy
the goal.
Grail.
You got to get in the 3-pack. If you're in number 4, it's like you're on the second page of Google. No one sees you.
Yeah, that is the Holy Grail. And here are 3 things you can do to increase your chances of making it onto those 3 coveted spots. Number 1, not surprisingly, is sign up for Google My Business. Number 2 is make sure Google has all your details. Fill out that profile in its entirety. And that includes pictures. And if you're like, I don't have pictures, go outside and take some pictures. Like, take pictures, get them on your Google profile.
Post those pictures. You want people to spend time there.
Yeah.
Like, keep posting pictures. Like, you can post over 100 pictures on your Google My Business, and rarely do people post more than like 5 or 10. You know, differentiate yourself. Build pillar picture content
and little videos. Like, hey, you know, I like to do appliance repair because it's something that I grew up doing with my dad, and I'm happy to serve you. Like, that's with your phone. Get that video up on your Google My Business listing. And then next is leverage your reviews. We cannot tell you how important reviews are. If you've listened to this podcast more than once, or even once already, you've heard us request a review. A review is that powerful. It's really important. It's important for your business. It's important for your ranking. It's important for everything. So make sure that you get those reviews. All right, number 3. So this is like those 5 tips that you need in order to optimize for local search. 1, build your internal linking structure. Did you know that your internal linking structure can affect your Google placement?
Oh my gosh, yes. I've been able to rank sites just with internal linking.
Yeah. So it can be really hard and maybe even a daunting task to go out and get inbound links. And we know they're valuable. But take advantage of those things that you have absolute control of first. Like, make sure you're on point. You improve your website navigation, show Google which of your site's pages are very important, and improve the website's architecture. All of that is good.
Chris, do you remember our conversation about breadcrumbs a long time ago?
Yes. Yeah. I may have sounded like I disagreed at that time.
Everybody use breadcrumbs.
Yes, it's actually link building structure. All right, number 4. Let's move on quickly from that. Build your NAP citations. Nothing to see here. Keep moving. Build your NAP citation. So NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. And the first place, Matt, here we go. Where's the first place you want your NAP information?
Well, your website, your Google My Business. I mean, you got to have a ledger to compare everything.
Yeah. So if we go back to the first, the question I asked earlier is GMB more important or website? So if GMB is more important, then that's the first place your NAP information goes. If website is more important, that's the first place your NAP goes. And when you do them together, what's the important thing about that NAP listing, about that NAP information?
Well, it's got to match. Like you got to have consistency, because Google's trying to trust the information, right? So
and you can go out and get NAP listings on, TripAdvisor, Yelp, Microsoft Bing. There's some aggregators like Data Axle, Factual, Newstar, Localese. Listing your website on these aggregators may seem like a daunting task. Go do it. It's worthwhile.
Okay. So I need to speak to this. Loren, I agree that aggregators sound important. And in practice, right? And then there's theory, and then there's practice. So in theory, they aggregate all your data out there, right? They push it all out there. There was I think it was at SMX or something like that. There was a talk that I was listening to, and it was by a guy at Bright Local. Okay. And they were, they do some really great case studies. And basically, he did a study where he used like 3 different aggregators, okay, and pushed them out there, and then looked later on 3 different sites to see where they got indexed, okay?
Right.
And like the aggregators are telling you, and you're just submitting your information to an aggregator just like any other place, right? And then there's the aggregator that you can submit to multiple aggregators, and you just spend a little money to do it. And it's something that was common practice. They recommend it. It sounds good. I get it. But what does the data suggest? Like, it was shocking, right? He showed that the aggregation that we're getting indexed. Okay. So maybe it was pushed out to all these different places, but if Google doesn't pick it up, doesn't matter. Right. And he was looking at, is it in the SERPs? And it was like pitiful performance across the board. And after looking at the data, how he did it, structured, like that changed my perspective on aggregators, right? And I'm really trying to focus on, when we're doing things, what are the things that happen and impact? And that again goes back to that chiropractor. Like I'm creating a scenario where I'm testing, because there's a brand new site, like launching a brand new site, ranking a new site. I should probably do a white paper on it. But essentially, okay, we do this thing. How does Google react? We do this. In what order do they react? Like if we combine things, like if you're getting traffic from multiple sources, it clicks something. Like there's a lot of different things of how the algorithm works. And aggregators in theory sound fantastic, and you should be able to submit them to all the aggregators, and you're done. Like that was actually like one of my opinions previously, of like, just submit to the aggregators. You don't even have to do the citations, because the aggregators are going to push it out to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's data tells the story. Follow the data. It's quite interesting. So I don't know. I wanted to share that little tidbit.
So maybe less time on the aggregators and more time on those big listing sites, right? So like a Yelp or
for every industry, there's certain ones that are
you have to be on.
Maybe there's some high general ones, but relevancy is so important, because Google's building kind of this map of being listed on these different sites. And if you're not in that spectrum, it devalues what you're doing. So you got to make sure you're not just doing stuff to do stuff. You're doing stuff with purpose in the right direction that's going to be beneficial to what you're trying to achieve. And we didn't even get into like non-structured citations. We didn't even get into making sure your website's added. Like there's a lot of things in that category to consider, but I know we need to move on. So
yeah. Number 5, again, 5 tips on optimizing for local search. Optimize your site for mobile. I think this probably falls into that category of things that that probably everyone on this website and maybe the planet know about already.
And what I can tell you, okay, when we bring on a new web developer, which we brought on a few here recently, one of the things that there's even some stuff that we didn't talk about, of like, we were talking about internal structure with like on the back end, like custom post types, and like letting Google know what these things are associated with, and what their importance is, kind of link structure and architecture. That's all that super important. When you're building a website, or most people build a website, they build it for design. Okay. Yeah. And, one of the things too is, Chris, are they building the website on a desktop or on a mobile phone?
They're always building it on a desktop, unless they're crazy.
So some of those emulators are not really accurate of what it looks like. And so they look at the emulator, oh, that's great, right? Mobile first indexing, mobile first optimization. You can be ranked differently on desktop versus mobile, and there's factors that go into that. So you have to be thinking about mobile when you're building these websites. And a lot of people just think about desktop, even though they know they should. They think that it's dynamic, or it looks good in the emulator, like I'm good, but they don't real world test it. And I think that that's where people fall short. So
yeah, absolutely. So optimize, design, think about, focus on mobile.
52% of all website traffic comes from mobile devices.
And Google's got a mobile index first policy. So
I'm looking at this here. Pop-ups and text blockers, you got to consider it. You don't want a pop-up to come right away. It kind of messes with the code, and it's a bad customer experience. Maybe you want them to wait a couple seconds or hit a certain place on the page. Larger font, like I can tell you when I'm reading news, I always click to make the font larger, more readable. Buttons being too small, that's a big problem. Okay, big problem. Like my thumb, I need to be able to, hit it there. Fit in nicely on the screen. There's a lot of problems with code when you do it. Also, like if you look at when people look at websites, especially on mobile, like you're putting the meat down at the bottom because you want to like build up to it, man, there's going to be like if you said all these people come to your website, by the time they get down to the bottom, there's almost nobody there. So you got to put your best information first.
Put teaser information. I would say put teaser information. So you may give,
for sure.
I love the videos that you were seeing on Facebook now, where it's like it shows the knockout punch. My stream is obviously kind of caters to things that I've looked at in the past, but it shows the knockout punch and then says, you wouldn't believe what happened the 3 minutes prior to this. And so now you're like, yeah, okay, I want to watch that. And so you actually give it away, but with some sort of teaser, and then get them to read the whole thing.
What were you watching? Like what
MMA fights, like MMA. I enjoy MMA. Like,
man, I enjoy Joe Rogan. Like honestly, yes. like he interviewed Elon Musk again.
Wow.
I enjoy listening to Elon Musk talk about the future and how he views the world. And I like how he always you pose a question to him and he takes a second and he really it makes him think and he formulates an answer. And then he gives a really succinct answer. Like I don't know. It's it's interesting. I wish I had more time to follow him. And everything that he does, everything that guy does that get us closer to Mars to be like an interplanetary race? Because that's going to be what
makes it sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. So enough of that. But I like mixed martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu too. Okay, go on. I can talk about that.
Well, my kids were in Brazilian jiu-jitsu for quite a while. So really good stuff.
It's like chess.
All right. Well, that wraps up. Unless you had any more points, that wraps up this episode.
The last part here, I'm looking here. What is it? Ready to start targeting local SEO. What does this say?
Yeah, that's just this is the rah-rah. Good. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. What kind of information is going to help them? Like deliver value to them.
Rah.
So it comes up again and again, and I was thinking and listening to Russell Bronson's one of his books, and he's talking about think about what the platform wants you to do for their users, and that goes directly to if you provide a good experience to the Google user, then Google will look favorably upon you, right? That's ultimately the thing that you want to be focused on. How does Google want you to treat their customers? How does Google want you to deliver information to their customers? And how complete should that information be? Like think about, get your mind in the mindset of Google. What are they trying to do for their customers?
Well, Chris, I think we should put that on a t-shirt. We need to start doing some more t-shirts again. Probably maybe towards the end of the year, we can start doing some new t-shirts. I got the backdrops ordered. I mean, really, when you change the brand, there's a lot that goes into rebranding.
Yes.
And so, we need to make some new t-shirts. And I think that's a super valuable point we can end on. And,
wait, we're ending
the value user valuably, and Google will look favorably upon you. And I feel like Google's like almost like a pyramid with the eye, like down on you or something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Google's the all-seeing eye, and I think that that's really a powerful point, and it should go on a t-shirt or in a bumper sticker. That's what I think.
Yeah. One last, James Klaus actually from Facebook said, "Great work, fellas. Great info." So patif to you, James. We really appreciate you checking in with us. We're going to wrap up this podcast. Remember, you can get video, audio, transcriptions of the podcast by going to bestseopodcast.com. We really would appreciate any reviews that you might leave. You could leave them at the Facebook.
You know what we don't have, Chris? We don't have. I would love to get some user-generated content of like on your phone. Maybe even, Chris, we can use that
magnify.
Our buddy. We don't have any video testimonials from podcast users, and I think that would be pretty incredible to get some video testimonials. So maybe we work on that for the next one, and maybe we send that out to the email list too. And we're building out the site. There'll be more things to download. We have some white papers that are about to come out. We do have some trainings coming. We actually have really, like, for PPC, like I have this whole process super built out. And so there's some stuff that will be rolling out soon. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Maybe in exchange for like that video type testimonial, they could get a t-shirt, like a custom EWR or Best SEO Podcast t-shirt.
Just Best SEO Podcast, EWR, those are two separate things, Yeah. We could come up with some kind of
incentive,
like wow bag, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. But I do want to get some swag and have that be part of the process. There's we want to grow the podcast, and we're going to dedicate some resources to that. Before, we've been kind of trying to get it done on the side and like consistently do podcasts. So we're going to be starting to interview a lot of people. Chris, is it next week? Or no, it's 2 weeks, right?
It's Gary Ilyish.
Yeah.
I think that's a close approximation. He works with Google.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. So so stay tuned, and it was good connecting with all y'all.
Yeah. By the way, if you've got any questions that you would like to ask Gary Ilyish, send them to us, because we're gonna interview him in 2 weeks. We're excited about that.
I got so many questions, Chris. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get to all the questions. I got questions.
It's not all about you, Matt. It's also about our listeners.
But no, if y'all have questions, send them in, please. So.
Please do. All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. We really appreciate you. One last thing, ewrdigital.com/G+. Yeah, I know it's old, but that'll also get you to a place where
I'm literally changing that. Like, I'm going to 301 redirect that thing. I'm done with G+.
Well, it's already redirected. You need to, that's the point. You need to give me another URL to give out. Then it'll be good.
No, that's what I'll do. I'll get you another one.
All right. Hey, and we really appreciate you. You guys have made us the most popular SEO podcast, one of the most popular internet marketing podcasts.
30 marketing podcasts of all time.
So we really appreciate you. Until the next podcast, I'm Chris Burris.
I'm Matt Bertram.
Bye-bye for now.